Stoicism, often misunderstood as emotional suppression or cold indifference, is in reality a profound philosophy of inner strength, rational clarity, and ethical living that emerged in ancient Greece and later flourished in Rome, founded by Zeno of Citium in the 3rd century BCE, and developed through the teachings of thinkers like Epictetus, Seneca, and Marcus Aurelius. Yet despite its rich intellectual lineage, modern culture frequently reduces Stoicism to a caricature of emotional numbness, imagining the Stoic as someone who feels nothing, desires nothing, and endures everything with robotic detachment, when in true Stoicism is not about eliminating emotion, but about transforming one's relationship with it, not about passivity, but about disciplined action, not about pessimism, but about resilient optimism grounded in realism. And at its core lies a simple but revolutionary insight. While we cannot control external events, we can control our judgments, choices, and responses. And this distinction, often called the dichotomy of control, forms the backbone of Stoic practice, teaching that peace is found not by manipulating the world, but by mastering one's inner narrative about the world. Because suffering arises less from circumstances themselves and more from the interpretations we attach to them. And so Stoicism trains a mind to pause between stimulus and response, to examine impressions before assenting to them, to ask whether a thought is accurate, helpful, or aligned with virtue, thereby reclaiming agency from impulsive reaction beyond the psychological discipline. Stoicism is fundamentally ethical, asserting that a highest good is virtue, defined as wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance, and that external things such as wealth, status, health, and reputation are indifference, meaning they are not inherently good or bad in themselves, but gain moral significance only through how they are used. So a Stoic does not reject success or comfort, but refuses to hinge happiness upon them, recognizing that dependency on what can be taken away breeds anxiety, whereas grounding fulfillment in character creates stability, and this reorientation from outcome to intention liberates individuals from the emotional turbulence of comparison and fear, encouraging them instead to focus on being rather than having, on integrity rather than image. Another misconception is that Stoicism discourages ambition, yet the philosophy actually promotes excellence, urging individuals to fulfill their roles in society with diligence and honor, to contribute meaningfully to the human community, and to act as rational participants in a shared cosmos. For Stoics believe that humans are interconnected through reason, and therefore have a duty to practice justice and compassion, making Stoicism not a retreat from society, but an engaged, responsible way of inhabiting it, where leadership, friendship, and citizenship are arenas for practicing virtue rather than stages. For ego, moreover, Stoicism embraces emotional depth while insisting on emotional governance, acknowledging natural feelings such as grief, love, joy, and disappointment, but distinguishing between healthy emotions and destructive passions that arise from false judgments. So instead of suppressing grief, a Stoic seeks to understand it within the larger context of impermanence. Instead of denying anger, he questions whether the offense truly harms his character or merely his pride, and instead of chasing pleasure recklessly, she practices moderation to avoid enslavement to desire, and through such reflection emotions become informed by reason rather than overwhelming it. Stoicism also incorporates practical exercises designed to cultivate resilience, such as negative visualization, imagining potential losses to build gratitude and preparedness, voluntary discomfort to strengthen endurance, daily journaling for self-examination, and constant reminders of mortality to clarify priorities, practices that foster humility and perspective rather than morbidity. And far from being abstract theory, Stoicism offers tools for navigating modern stress, whether in relationships, careers, or personal setbacks, because its insights about control, perception, and virtue apply as readily to contemporary life as they did to ancient marketplaces and imperial courts. Importantly, Stoicism does not promise a life free of pain, but equips individuals to meet pain with steadiness, teaching that adversity is an opportunity to exercise courage, that insult is an opportunity to practice patience, That loss is an opportunity to deepen gratitude for what was once present, and that each challenge can refine rather than define us, and as reframing transforms obstacles into training grounds for character development. Furthermore, Stoicism challenges the modern obsession with constant happiness, arguing instead for tranquility rooted in alignment with reason and nature, because chasing pleasure as the ultimate aim leads to fragility when pleasure fades, whereas cultivating virtue yields a more durable form of fulfillment, a quiet confidence that persists regardless of fluctuating circumstances. Beyond individual psychology, Stoicism presents a cosmological vision in which events unfold according to a rational order, inviting acceptance of what cannot be changed while still demanding responsible action where influence exists. And this balance between acceptance and effort prevents both despair and arrogance, encouraging humility about external outcomes and responsibility for internal conduct. Ultimately, what Stoicism really is, beyond the misconceptions, is a philosophy of disciplined freedom, where freedom is defined not as the ability to control everything but as the capacity to remain sovereign over one's own mind, where strength is measured not by dominance over others but by mastery over impulse, where success is evaluated not by applause but by adherence to virtue, and where resilience emerges not from denial of emotion but from intelligent engagement with it, making Stoicism a timeless guide for anyone seeking clarity amid chaos, steadiness amid uncertainty, and integrity amid temptation. And when understood in its fullness, Stoicism reveals itself not as emotional austerity, but as profound empowerment, not as withdrawal, but as wise participation, not as indifference, but as deliberate alignment with what truly matters, offering a framework through which individuals can navigate life's inevitable fluctuations with composure, purpose, and moral courage. Part 2 of understanding what Stoicism really is requires moving even deeper beyond the surface-level clichés and into its living, breathing application. Because many people intellectually grasp the idea control what you can and accept what you cannot, yet fail to recognize that Stoicism is not a slogan but a daily discipline of awareness, responsibility, and moral refinement. And at this deeper level, Stoicism becomes less about enduring hardship silently and more about actively shaping one's character in alignment with reason and virtue, a tradition that traces back to Stoicism and evolved through practical teachings of Epictetus, the political reflections of Seneca, and the introspective meditations of Marcus Aurelius, each of whom demonstrated that Stoicism is not theoretical detachment, but engaged wisdom in action. And one major misconception that must be dismantled is a belief that Stoicism demands suppression of love or ambition, when in fact it demands purification of them, meaning that love should not become possessiveness and ambition should not become vanity, because Stoicism insists that the quality of our intentions defines the moral worth of our pursuits. So a Stoic can love deeply yet without clinging, can strive for excellence yet without being enslaved to applause, can experience disappointment yet without collapsing into despair. And this subtlety is often overlooked in modern portrayals that reduce Stoicism to emotional minimalism. Furthermore, Stoicism emphasizes a disciplined perception, which means that events themselves are neutral until interpreted. And this insight has radical implications for mental resilience because it suggests that much suffering originates in distorted narratives we construct about circumstances, such as assuming rejection equals worthlessness or failure equals permanent inadequacy. And the Stoic practice involves interrogating these narratives, asking whether they're logically sound, morally relevant, or simply habitual exaggerations, thereby transforming the mind from a reactive storyteller into a rational evaluator. And this does not eliminate pain, but prevents unnecessary amplification of it. Another overlooked dimension of Stoicism is its communal orientation. For although it highlights personal responsibility, it does not promote selfish isolation. Rather, it asserts that humans are social beings designed to cooperate within a larger rational order, and therefore, justice and compassion are central virtues, meaning a true Stoic does not withdraw from society, but participates honorably, treating others with fairness even when wronged, contributing to collective well-being, and recognizing shared humanity even amid disagreement, which makes Stoicism surprisingly aligned with modern discussions of emotional intelligence and ethical leadership. Additionally, Stoicism reframes adversity as training rather than tragedy, viewing obstacles as opportunities to exercise courage and patience. And this mindset shifts the question from why is this happening to me to how can I respond virtuously to this, thus converting victimhood into agency. And such reframing is not naive optimism but pragmatic empowerment, because while circumstances may remain harsh, the individual's capacity to meet them with composure becomes a source of dignity and strength. Stoicism also challenges a cultural obsession with constant stimulation and external validation by encouraging inner sufficiency, teaching that reliance on praise, luxury, or social comparison destabilizes the psyche, whereas grounding identity in virtue stabilizes it. And this does not forbid enjoyment but contextualizes it, reminding practitioners that pleasure is best savored without dependency and success is best pursued without arrogance. Moreover, Stoicism addresses mortality with striking clarity, advocating remembrance of death not as morbid fixation, but as motivational perspective, because awareness of life's brevity sharpens priorities, dissolves trivial resentments, and intensifies gratitude for present moments, thereby fostering intentional living rather than unconscious drift. Beyond individual practices, Stoicism offers a worldview that integrates reason with acceptance, asserting that while humans possess the capacity for deliberate choice, they must also harmonize with realities beyond their control, striking a balance between effort and surrender that prevents both fatalism and hubris. And this equilibrium allows individuals to strive vigorously while remaining emotionally steady if outcomes diverge from expectations. Ultimately, what Stoicism really is, beyond every misconception, is a philosophy of disciplined freedom, ethical courage, rational compassion, and resilient tranquility, inviting individuals to cultivate a mind that neither overreacts nor withdraws, a heart that neither clings nor hardens, and a character that neither compromises virtue for convenience nor collapses under pressure, and in embracing Stoicism as a living practice rather than a rigid stereotype, one discovers not emotional coldness but emotional maturity, not detachment from life but deeper engagement with it, and not passive endurance but active, principled participation in the unfolding drama of existence, guided by reason, anchored in virtue, and illuminated by the quiet confidence that true power lies not in controlling the world but in mastering oneself.